All right. These are the types of questions that I love because they really get you thinking. What if the thing that you think will grow your farm business is actually the thing that will kill it? Back in the 1970s, USDA Secretary Earl Butz told American farmers to plant fence row to fence row. Get big or get out. That message shaped an entire generation of agriculture. And it's still shaping how a lot of small scale farmers think today. After a decade of interviewing so many people on my podcast, I keep seeing the same patterns come up. A farmer gets some traction, sales are growing, customers want more, and the next step seems obvious. What do you think it is? Get more land. Good job. You get a star. But when you look at how this tends to play out, the farms that expanded fastest are rarely the ones that lasted the longest. And today I'm breaking down 4 reasons why growing your farm could actually shrink your profit, and I'll give you the questions you need to ask before taking on a single extra square foot of growing space. I'm Diego, Diego. Welcome to Modern Grower, where we talk about building a profitable farm business, not just a farm, and take on fun questions just like these. Let's get into it. Okay, one reason why more land isn't so great. More land creates more overhead, not more profit. This is the part that often surprises people. You think that doubling your growing space would double your revenue, but it rarely works that way. When you take on more land, you're not just adding beds, you're adding logistics, travel time, irrigation setup, maintenance, all of that stuff. Every plot comes with complexity and invisible costs that don't show up on a seed order form. And I can tell you from running my business, Modern Grower, we started very small. We started very niche. We looked to expand our product line, add more products. Our revenue never went up commensurate with the amount of products that we added. What we really added, and this was a for sure, was complexity and logistics and challenges and problems. And I can pretty much guarantee this is the same across every business. More is more, but not always more of what you want. More of the stuff you don't want. More land can be a multiplier, but keep in mind it multiplies everything, including the problems. If your current operation is already running with inefficiencies, poor succession planning, low sell-through, underperforming crops, more land doesn't fix those issues. It just scales them. Point number 2. Land should be the last decision, not the first. Most growers think about expansion starting with land. I want to grow. I need more space so I can plant more and sell more. But that's not how you should think about this. You should start with 5 questions, and land isn't one of them. Here's what you should be asking before you take on any new growing space. Question number 1. What exactly will I grow there? Not more stuff. Specific crops, specific varieties that you know will do well in your marketplace. Question number 2, who's buying it? Do I already have customers asking for more of that thing? Am I already short it? Or am I just guessing? Am I hoping that if I grow more, I can sell more? You either know you can sell more because people are asking and you need to get more. We've seen that problem. Or you hope demand will be there and you make it and hope somebody will buy it. They don't. Question number 3, can my current labor handle it? Maybe it's just you, maybe it's you and a partner, maybe it's a small staff. More beds mean more planting, more harvesting, more delivery. If you can't staff it, you can't profit from it. Question 4. Does it connect to any of my existing infrastructure? A plot across town with no irrigation, no cooler access, a different delivery route is a second business, not an expansion. So if you can't add on adjacent land, it's going to make that expansion even harder. Question number 5. What's my rotation plan? If you don't already know what goes in those beds in month 1, 3, and 6, you're not ready. Think of it this way. No serious business owner would launch a new product line without a marketing plan, a production plan, and a budget. Actually, a lot of serious business owners would, but I would say not a lot of experienced, well thought out, smart business owners would do it that way. It's a very rookie move. It's got a lot of bravado, like just go for it move, but not the smartest thing. When farmers take on land, they're doing this with nothing more than a feeling sometimes that more space means more money, but it's not the case. Taking on land without answering these 5 questions is just hoping with a lot of work involved. Number 3, the extra production you're looking for might already be on your farm. This is one that gets overlooked the most, and I really resonate with it. Before you go looking for new land, look harder at the land you already have. Most farms are not utilizing the space they're already paying for. This first got the seed of this got planted in my mind by the late Toby Hemingway with his book Gaia's Garden. And I initially read that maybe 20 years ago, and I wanted to get all this land. And I started thinking, oh man, all this land means I got to do all these things. If I just had a house, I could really focus in on small land around the house and maximize it. And that's the path I ended up going down. I don't have a massive yard, and I really haven't even maximized what I have, yet we all want more land. It's much easier to focus in on something very small and maximize it than try and do something big. One person can make one small room really pretty and really organized, but give them a whole hotel and suddenly they're in way over their head. If you're a farm and you're not utilizing what you're already paying for in terms of land, this is what it might look like. How tight are your successions? Are your beds sitting empty between crops, even for a week or two? That's lost revenue hiding in plain sight. Are you harvesting progressively over 10 days where you could crop out a full bed at once, turn it over, and replant the next day? That single change can add an entire cycle of extra planting to the same ground over the course of the year. And here's why the math matters so much. Jody Robuck, a farmer I've talked to so many times on the podcast, uses a simple formula. Take the number of beds you have, multiply it by the number of rotations you get out of those beds per year, and multiply that by your target revenue per harvest. For example, 100 beds, 4 rotations per year, $400 per harvest, that's $160,000. If you could do some strategic planning and get 5 rotations out of all those beds, same land, just more rotations, that's $200,000. That's a $40,000 jump without a single new square foot of land being acquired. That's not just a theory. Jody has said this on the podcast. He's talked about his story of how his farm doubled its turnover since the start of COVID, only adding 9 new beds. The growth came from tighter rotations and stronger market streams, not more land. And he's not unique. This is often the case. And so many business owners, so many creative people have talked about this. This is the funny thing about constraints. When you tell yourself, I can't get more land, you have to get creative to solve the revenue problem. Your brain starts finding space you didn't know you have. Faster successions, transplanting, interplanting, eliminating walkways. None of those things require new land, new landowner relationships, or a single extra dollar in rent. Constraints don't limit your farm. They don't limit your thinking. They often sharpen it. Number four, scaling down can make you more money than scaling up. Again, I've seen this personally. Taking on a lot of products and then cutting a lot of products, we've become more efficient, more effective, more profitable. So many people think the opposite, that more growth means getting bigger, and that leads to more profits. For small businesses, growth often means getting tighter, doing better with what you already have. I've talked to a farmer named Ian Caselli in the past on the podcast. He farms 2,000 square feet. That's it. He was maxed out at the time, every bed planted, and the moment something came out, something else went in. He grew the highest value crops he could in his area. And here's the part that sticks with me and is a good lesson for you. He didn't go looking for more land. He sat down and calculated the total hours he worked in the year. It was between 600 and 700. He figured out what a fair hourly wage would be. He matched that money that the farm could make with the hours he was willing to put in. When the hours were up, he stopped, even if there was more work to do. Now that takes discipline because on a farm, there's a never-ending to-do list. There's always something you could be doing. But Ian drew a line. He said, this is my cap. I don't need more land. I did the math, and this is the math that makes the money work on the boundaries that I've set. If your farm feels like it's running you instead of the other way around, the answer probably isn't more. It's less done better. Here's the reflex you have to fight. Society tells you to grow, to get bigger. Business culture tells you to scale. Agriculture's been telling you to get big since the 70s. But the farmers that I've talked to, the ones that really succeed, they're the ones that haven't really ever expanded. Some have even gotten much smaller. Let's do a business breakdown to hit this point. The math. Jody Robuck targets a minimum of $400 per bed per harvest at his farm. That's his benchmark. Below that, the crop is considered financially marginal. Not marginable, marginal. He takes it further with a dollar per day metric. The total revenue of the bed divided by the days that crop was in the bed. On his farm, a bed of Mizuta turning over in 18 days earns roughly $22 per day. A bed of carrots at 90 days earns about $11 per day. Both hit the $400 benchmark, but the daily rate tells you which crop is earning its space more than another when you compare them against each other. That's the number that most growers never calculate. So this week, pick 3 crops, your top 3. For each one, write down what that bed earned at harvest and how many days it was in the ground. Divide the revenue you got from that bed by the total days the crop was in the bed. That's your dollar per day metric. If the crop is sitting in a bed for 90 days and earning less than $400, it's not a land problem that you have. You have a crop selection problem. The answer isn't more beds, it's better beds. The mindset. Land is a tool, it's not a trophy. Taking on more space should be the end point of a strategic decision, not a starting point. Here's the truth about expansion. It's not bad, it's not wrong, and there is a time and a place for it. But that time is after you've already answered the 5 questions, after you've already maximized what you already have, if you've already proven that demand exists, and you have the systems to meet it. The farmers who survive, they're not the ones farming the most land or the ones who grew the fastest. They're the ones that grew intentionally, with thought, with systems, and on purpose. Use that knowledge and go build a farm business, not just to farm. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, hit like, hit subscribe. I'm Diego for Modern Grower, Diego. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.